Good morning, everybody. John Stripley here, coming from beautiful Chicago with GAI Insights news this morning. We're going to look at the top news, essential, optional, or important for the AI leader. If you want to look at the articles, just go to gaiinsights.com/articles. Happy to have Tim Andrews, AI leader at Manat, a fantastic large legal firm, Adam Rappaport, whose day job is to make Microsoft great, Amkaj Honda, and Paul Meyer. All right. Amkaj, will you start us out with the first article, please?
Sure, thanks, John. So the first one that we have for today comes from Financial Times, and it is titled, Successful AI Adoption Needs Workers in the Loop.
All right, here we have the venerable FP doing a pretty in-depth review of how AI is doing. How do you think, Adam?
I don't know, man. I had trouble getting into this article. It seemed to go a little bit all over the place, trying to make a few too many points. And frankly, fundamentally, there were things in here that I just disagree with. I started to question it when first they're quoting a research from UK Education from November 2023 to try and make their point, which seems a bit outdated and maybe a little insignificant, like they're sort of cherry picking. And then they just cited this new research from Goldman Sachs talking about artificial intelligence could displace to 6 to 7% of the workforce. But it's likely to be transitory impact as new job opportunities are created. And I think fundamentally they're just way off the mark here in terms of what's going to be happening with the impact. And I understand the point he's making, which is in some ways giving hope about that, there's really this important role for AI, for workers in this new world with the AI landscape. But he's really just ignoring the elephant in the room. And I think it's a cautionary tale that we should probably not be necessarily highlighting.
And so the elephant in the room being just a massive.
Oh, I was optional for this.
And you're thinking the elephant in the room for you is the fact that we're going to have significant.
We're going to have tremendous layoffs, and Microsoft is explicitly going after human resources budgets. They're like, the IT budgets are pretty much saturated and spent and allocated, but there's a lot of money in headcount that can be allocated to IT spend as we move into AI here, and that's not going to be 6 to 7% that comes back with new jobs.
Isn't that interesting? I hadn't heard that, but it makes a lot of sense. What do you think here, Tim?
I think Adam's too kind. This is another one of those where the robots could have done a better job. It's just first of all, it says hardly anything. It's just a rehash of some articles to try and piece together a story, as Adam said, that even the story they piece together is sort of weasel worded, as I would like to say. So I just don't think there's much here that's worth talking about, and I would declare it triple optional nothing burger.
All right. Oh, gosh, what do you think?
Super optional, John. I think I agree with Tim and Adam. It's all over the place. They have just combined a few statistics here and there and don't have a coherent message coming out.
It's so great to see the rigor here. What do you think, Paul?
Please, next article.
Now, let me make a case for important.
Oh, goodness. Let me make a case that that's a waste of time. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that for us, these are all things we brought together. For your average executive, man, the fact that, let me just say, I hear you about the timing, Adam, on the report. Okay, but those statistics those predictions are coming out. The graduate job listings. I think that's a pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting statistic that I haven't seen, and it's a good leading indicator, I think. Then these what's happening with the posting by job sector, I think is amazing. I mean, I didn't know that. And, what's a better indicator than that if you can't actually get at the labor, the hiring statistics? And, then you go down farther into, the level of exposure to generative AI, right? This has been around for a year or so, the study. But again, I don't think that most executives have kind of grokked what this is about. So I don't know. I this is going to be the central issue. I was just talking with the CEO yesterday of a multi-billion-dollar company. This is going to be the central issue that CEOs are going to have to manage, looking out to society, I would say, as they transform their organizations. It's going to be
and to say it's going to be okay because there's going to be new roles made.
Yeah. Okay. That's the Pollyanna.
Well, and I think you also, I would beg to differ, John, because the evidence can be fit to multiple scenarios. So maybe these are really good leading indicators, and maybe economies are just really weak right now and we're about to go off the cliff, and we won't know that until afterwards. And maybe this will be the most important thing for CEOs, and maybe the most important thing will be survival over the next 5 years if we have a terrible economy. And both of those fit the exact same evidence, and you just can't say a priori. So you can make the case, and it's one we've discussed before, but
the future is always maybe, so that's like saying we can
right.
The future.
But I think in this case there are lots of other indicators that I could easily write a story right now that says the economies are all on a knife edge right now. There's a lot of other indicators saying things are on a knife edge right now.
The reason I say it's going to be the major issues because I do think we're going to have a correction, and then people are going to come hammer and tongs against AI. That's like, what are you doing?
Could be. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that, but that's a different story.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not saying she's making that argument. I'm saying that this data is useful to you in that argument. But I am in a Democratic mood this morning. I woke up thinking of Mr. Madison. All right. We're going to go for optional. Next.
Okay, the next one comes from A16Z, and it is titled, "There is no God-tier video model."
All right. No God-tier video model that will do everything, but rather specialization on couch. How about it?
Yes, yes, John. So basically, this post this argues that there is no single God model as such. So basically, the author is just hypothesizing that he had predicted maybe 12, 14 months back in the starting of 2024 that there will be a God model which will be able to do everything in terms of the length of the videos, the quality, the audio sync, realism, etc. But now he's making a case that we will not see a single God model. There will be models who are specialized either in physics simulations or anime style or multi-shot scenarios. So basically, he gives examples of VO for physics simulations, anime for Grok, and then multi-shot scenarios for Sora. And he also lays out various other models which are good at what kind of video, what kind of audio, and all that stuff. So I think it's a good primer for someone who is looking to understand how video models have evolved over the last 14, 18 months. So maybe important for an executive just want to understand where the video model market is right now.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think, Tim?
I think, I could go with important. I sort of lean towards optional. It is interesting, and it's a good overview of where video models are from an opinionated viewpoint. I tend to think it's just way too early to start making these generalizations about where the markets are going. These models are brand new and changing almost on a monthly basis. So, it's a logical argument and coherent, and he does a nice review and gives a bunch of samples. So it's not a total waste of time, but I don't think I would pay much attention to the thesis right now. Things are just changing too rapidly.
Not a total waste of time, but a partial waste. Gosh. Oh, gosh. What do you think? Oh, sorry. No, gosh. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it is good primer. I'm not sure how important it is for our target audience specifically. And I also think if you look at this article in even potentially 2 weeks or a month, you're going to see that this is all outdated and that what he's saying are now specializations. They're all going to be doing that. So it is a point in time snapshot, but it's a valuable one. So I was on the fence between optional and important.
All right, Paul, where are you coming in?
Well, I'm just excited about the Blaze comment online that Adam is his or her favorite analyst.
Coming
I think
in
that's
from
exciting.
yeah.
So I'm going to defer to Blaze and Adam's advice in this.
So where are we coming at? EIO.
Yeah. So I think it's optional.
All right, optional it is. Akash, next.
Okay, the next one that we have is about Bolt and how Mura wrote an in-house LLM eval framework.
Yeah, Tim, I can't wait to hear your take on this. I mean, this at least is, if not something you worry about, it's something that is first cousin to it.
Yeah, I gave this an important because I think it's a little bit technical, but not that technical. And I think AI leaders need to pay attention to this stuff. And these guys have an okay approach. It's a reasonable approach to doing it. There's some detail that would be nice if it was there for the technical side, but it lays it out and talks about what they used and how they used it, and it's missing a couple. The only important thing I think it's missing is the problem with evaluations is how you tell whether you've improved or not when you're dealing with semantics, because semantics change culturally. And we used to worry about this all the time when we were building natural language processing systems, because vernacular changes and new phrases come in, phrases change meaning. And so if you improve a model, quote unquote, to understand the vernacular a little better, is it a better model or a worse model? Because it's going to misunderstand other things. So there's a larger issue for Gen AI and semantic models in general. But I'm sort of down the rabbit hole. I would still say this is a reasonable article, at least getting around to, hey, how do I make a rigorous way to evaluate things?
All right, so we got an important. What do you think here, Adam?
I was between optional and important. I think it evals are important, and it does a good job of painting that picture. I was in Canberra yesterday with my day job, actually presenting, and then on a panel talking about AI. And one of the hot topics we were discussing is the challenge organizations are facing, from especially with citizen developers and vibe coding, all of these great prototypes that are use cases and business cases. How do we scale those and actually bridge that gap and go to production? And this is a really good primer on an important element to take into consideration along the way. So I think if it isn't important now, it's going to be important in the next 3 to 6 months for a lot of organizations.
All righty, Akash, you're headed for important. What do you think? Well, Akash, I don't know if you could hear me.
Yeah.
There we go. Akash, what do you think?
Sorry. Yep. Having some audio issues. I think I agree with Tim. It's important. It's a good sort of introduction to how you can use evals on your tools that you're building with LLMs. So I think an important one for AI executives.
All right, Paul.
Isn't this a lead gen for their AI software product?
Yeah.
So I don't. So it's a primer on a company selling product with no case studies.
Other than that, you really like it.
Yeah. So optional on my end.
I think it's a little more than that. I think in terms of how they laid out how they use this invoice review tool. I thought the tool is interesting itself. This notion of figuring out how to read complex documents so you can get paid or take an order is a really huge issue and not fully solved. So anyway, I'm gonna give it an important. Important it is. Next.
Okay, moving on to the next one. This one comes from Anthropic, and it is a case study about how class method accelerates development velocity with Claude Code.
Yeah, what do you think, Adam?
I see those first stats right there. We just scrolled past, right? 80% decrease in time spent reviewing code, 96% reduction in Google Apps script task processing time from 24 hours to 1 hour. I mean, those are incredible statistics. And I was really excited to see about this, but they as Claude has done, or Anthropic has done a fair bit in their use cases, talk about what they did. They don't give enough information about how they did it.
Yeah.
And so the fact is, Claude stood out, and that was the best one for them to use. But they don't really talk about specifically why Claude was best. They say that they did some sort of evaluation and Claude was on top, but they don't go into any detail about how they evaluated a model, and they don't go into any detail about how they're really using it to get these incredible gains. So it ends up mostly being just a commercial to try and prove that Claude is amazing for developers, which I hope we all know by now. So I was optional on this.
There we go. You were expecting a meal, you barely got an appetizer. Paul, what do you think? Can't hear.
Sorry, I'm with Adam. Optional.
All righty, Tim.
Yep, really good statistics, but nothing underneath the covers to explain what they did or how they did it.
Yeah, so disappointing. Guys, we're going for optional. You okay with that?
Optional.
All right, Liz, next.
Okay, the next one that we have for today comes from Brave browser, and it is titled Unseeable Prompt Injections in Screenshots, More Vulnerabilities in Comet and Other AI Browsers.
Yeah, it's funny when I saw this, I was imagining that like one of the prompts they have is sitting inside a picture, and they did blue with yellow that's imperceptible to humans but is perceptible to the models. And I was just thinking, well, am I going to be surfing the web with a robot on my shoulder that basically can see all the stuff I can't see? Anyway, what do you think about this, Tim?
Yeah, this is the obvious problem. It's the reason I don't use Comet or any agentic browser at the moment, and probably won't for a while. The security risks here are, orders of magnitude worse, and we just haven't felt it yet, but we will. Just like ransomware is now a full-time industry, it's just going to make it worse. And agentic browsers are very dangerous. And as you said, John, we'll probably just end up in another arms race. Great, more money. This is the fox in the henhouse problem. Let's create some problems, and then we'll be the solution, and it will generate more revenue for us and profits on both sides. Seems a silly game to me, and I understand there's value potentially in agentic browsers, but the risks here are way beyond what most people understand. And right now, I would just stay away.
All right,
so I think this is an important article from my perspective, and a generally important subject that we are just not paying any attention to security. That's probably too harsh a way to state it, but we aren't paying nearly enough.
Tim, you're not suggesting that the Valley-based companies with these new AI browsers are driving 65 and a 55 and shipping fast and worry about security later, are you?
I would never suggest the motives of any corporate executive or anything but the highest of virtue.
Okay.
My cynical friends, what do you think?
Yeah, it's important to be aware of at a personal level. I'm not sure at a corporate or enterprise level how many organizations are looking at adopting agentic browsers at this point. But I was still in the important camp because it's good to start raising the awareness about these issues. As Tim said, it's orders of magnitude more significant.
Yeah, well, I think the problem, Adam, and I can go all the way back to the mid-90s when security first started becoming an issue because there was this thing called the internet. The problem is the individuals. So the individuals do things that the corporation isn't aware of that end up compromising the corporation. And I can tell you story after story of multi-million-dollar problems that were caused by individuals, not by anything the corporation did.
Yeah, I had a customer actually say that they don't trust AI, but they trust their people not to upload things to third-party websites.
Well, they don't even think about it. Somebody says, "Hey, this Comet thing is great," and they start using Comet. I mean, again, the oldest story back in the 90s was some marketing person wasn't allowed access to the internet through their corporation, so they just brought in a modem and connected it to their phone underneath their desk. Didn't think anything of it, but it was a backdoor and ended up causing a world of problems.
There you go. Paul, important?
No, it's optional. But that being said, I just want to highlight, we did rate the OpenAI Atlas news yesterday as essential. And I probably spent 12 hours using that browser, and it's amazing. So I'm driving around with this.
But this is optional, Paul? But this is optional.
This is optional.
Yeah. Akash, for you. Akash, you are optional as well or important?
No, John. I was between important and essential for this one. I think more and more people will start using these browsers without realizing the risks that they are exposing themselves to. So sharing this with everyone I feel is essential to make sure that they're aware of the risks.
Or exposing their organizations to, frankly. I mean, I guess that's the enterprise risk here.
Yeah, I'm definitely important on this. Essential because it's such, I agree with you, Tim, that it's not that people aren't aware of it. It's just, just a kind of shot in the arm in terms of making it more important, making it more urgent, that kind of thing. Maybe we're essential here. I'm kind of on important level. Okay, important it is. All right, last one, please.
Okay, the last one that we have for today comes from Bain & Company, and it is titled GenAI in Finance Isn't Failing, It's Working Where It's Built In.
Yeah, I was between optional and important on this thing. I thought that, the notion of going at the processes of the successful things, I think that's it's a good way to go at it for a consultant trying to sell business, but I don't think it's the truth. I think I'm getting more and more convinced that the real issue here is organizational maturity. Do they have the ability and understanding to be able to understand this technology, and then the organizational maturity to implement new technologies? That those are the drivers, not the question of whether you do islands of automation or systemic implementation. But it's got some decent data in here. It pulls from the flawed MIT study, and they agree that it's flawed. It's this notion of how you embed it in finance makes sense, but I don't know. The more I look at it, the more I think it's optional. So I'm going to go optional on this one. What do you think, Paul?
Optional, John. Well said.
All right, Tim.
Yeah, optional. This is a thinly disguised marketing to buy Bain services to help you figure this out.
Yep. Adam.
I was on the fence actually between optional and important. I think even just the tagline under the headline, the fastest payback comes from automating workflows, not piloting experiments, and really saying that the measurable ROI in those sorts of scenarios versus lighting up chatbots is really where you're going to make sense to make your investment. And I 1000% agree. It's still a commercial for Bain, but it's also anyone who doesn't have the message yet, and they're looking at how they can beat their head against organizational change management and getting people to adopt chatbots, and then trying to justify the ROI on it, needs to understand that there's a better way to go about justifying ROI. It's not that you don't want to provide enterprise chatbot for your employees, but it's harder to demonstrate the ROI of their productivity than to go into business processes and automate them, right? Which is getting very, very inexpensive because of GenAI.
All righty. Okay, Akash, important or optional? What do you think?
I think important, John. I think it makes some good points. It has good data. So I was important on this one.
All right, important it is. We have the total. And Adam, Paul, you have a couple announcements?
Yeah, 3 announcements. Today at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, and 5 London time, we're going to do our weekly ChatGPT for busy professionals free 101 training. We're getting great feedback on it. You can go to GAI Insights and sign up for there. Second announcement is Monday, our learning lab, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. We're going to be reviewing Nathan's fantastic State of AI report. It's a must read for anyone in the industry. And we're also going to be talking about our predictions as a team for 2026. We did this last year, and many of us were wildly wrong. So join us for that. And third, we're finally finalizing our AEO primer for executives. And this AEO is really, really catching executives, Tyler. And there's a lot of really important tactical things you can do. Two events and 1 upcoming free report.
For those who don't know, AEO is answer engine optimization. So we're going from search engines to answer engines, and the shift in emphasis in spending and strategy. Okay, Akash, do you have a board for us? All right, so we have 3 and 3 optionals, 3 importance. All right, kind of light reading. Look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow. Have a great AI Thursday. Bye-bye now.